So this episode is not going to be any sort of a tutorial or anything. It's going to be more of a chill episode, just like a photo vlog or whatever, talking about my experience taking photos in the #1 country in the world, which is of course Taiwan, and more specifically Taipei, the capital city, where I spent a couple months about a year ago, in the end of 2019, which seems like an eternity ago. So there's a couple of reasons why I thought this episode of my photo vlog series was a good one to make. One, I have a lot of free time now. Two, I have a lot of unused B-roll that I shot in Taiwan. And three, I feel like there's a couple of interesting points I can make while going through the photos and my experience shooting streets in Taipei. So on the surface, Taipei seems like it could be pretty similar to the photos in as Tokyo, for example. But I think there's one thing in particular that makes Taipei more difficult to take good photos in, and that is the insane amount of scooters everywhere. Because that just makes compositions much more cluttered and much more difficult to keep them simple. It makes your photos very busy, so if you don't particularly pay attention to eliminating all of those distractions from your frames, all of your photos are just going to be more cluttered than they would in a place that didn't have those scooters. So composing photos in Taipei became more of an issue of eliminating things rather than adding interesting things. Initially, when I realized that I was struggling to take good photos, I started to really try to focus on just taking more close-up photos of people, either by going close to people or by using a longer lens. I was even trying the 70-200 on the street. And because I look like an obvious tourist who likes photography, nobody really batted an eye at me using this massive lens on the street. But I think if I wasn't such an obvious tourist, it may be more weird, more noticeable. So depending on where you are, you may want to avoid doing it, but of course just experiment. The good thing with this is if you take a photo of someone, you'll be so far away that even if they get agitated, it will take a while for them to reach you, which gives you plenty of time to escape. But seriously though, usually when you take photos at 200 millimeters in a city that is more chaotic and cluttered, it can be really difficult to make those compositions work because you'll be forced to shoot through something, so compositions become very limited. So that's why it's probably better to just use like a 35 or a 50 and just go closer to people if this is your goal. However, after looking at the photos that I was coming out with, even after taking this approach of eliminating those distractions by going closer, I still wasn't entirely happy with the photos. And this is more related to my personal taste, but I figured out later that the reason I wasn't really happy with those photos was because I don't actually like traditional type of street photography as much as I thought I did. What I like in photography is making photos that make the viewer feel a certain type of things. I like the mood in a photo. I don't necessarily like super documentary, super realistic type of photography as much as some other people may like. So then with this in mind, I changed my approach again, trying to keep the issue of composition and eliminating scooters and whatever clutter in mind, but also not showing people that directly, but instead adding some mystery into photos and just really trying to focus on the mood that the photos were creating. But once I realized that for me the mood of a photo was more important than any other factor, once I started going out to shoot with that in mind, in combination with the composition issue, that is when I finally started getting photos that I was actually happy with. Now, I don't mean this video as like any kind of an instructional video or a tutorial on how to take good photos in Taipei, because this is a very subjective thing that is dependent on my own taste and style. So if you take anything away from this video, I hope it's more about an advice or tips on how to find your style and how to get closer to it and how to analyze your photos in a more conscious way, I would say. In my opinion, Taipei doesn't have any like a best area where you should definitely go and shoot. It's a really walkable, really safe city, and these kind of places are ideal for just walking around and exploring. So take a train to one of the areas close to some of the famous night markets to start with, and then just start exploring. Taipei is really ideal for this kind of explorations. And I hope you enjoyed this more relaxed nature of this video. I highly recommend visiting Taipei once you have the chance, once it's possible in the world. There's something about the city that I just really, it's difficult to put into words, but I really find it a super relaxing place to go, despite it looking kind of chaotic in a lot of these B-roll footages. Something about the feeling in the city is just difficult to convey with words. And I think I just have a soft spot for Taipei. It's where I basically started my photography journey for the first time back in 2015. I just wanted to buy a camera for better travel photos, to better document like my landscape shots instead of just using my crappy phone camera. But then I just slowly got into it, and here we are like 5 years later. I'm completely obsessed with photography and filmmaking, and that's where I got my start. And I'm really happy that I found this new passion in my life, because it just makes everything much more fun. It makes travel more fun, it makes exploring cities more fun, and I really enjoy being creative and doing this kind of stuff instead of just, you know, working in pursuit of money or whatever. So I hope you enjoyed this little vlog of mine, if I can call it that. And if you're new to this channel, I hope you subscribe, and if you're old to this channel, do me a favor by leaving me a comment. So thanks again for watching. I think next I'm gonna make similar videos about my trips to Hokkaido in Japan and New York, because despite not planning those videos, I do have the B-roll and I do have the photos, and I think it would make for at least somewhat entertaining videos. So I'll hope to see you once those videos are ready.